Alrighty, folks, you are going to get to participate in a live coaching call and also potentially something that's a little bit embarrassing to yours truly. I was just having a private conversation with Mr. Brian Adamson, and he said, Zuber, you're broken. We need to talk about this. So I'm going to have a coaching call with Brian Adamson, and he's going to help me be a little bit better. So why don't you kind of set the table of what we just talked about privately, share whatever you want. I'm cool, and then we can get into it.
Yeah. So just so everybody knows, right? All of these conversations are impromptu. Today was even more so the case, right? So I thought people were still out of the country, and I get the email like the link to join. I'm like, my computer's dead. I just got back from Vegas last week. I'm like, you got to give me a minute, bro. So we were talking about my trip in Vegas where I was just on 4 podcasts out there last week, and we were kicking that around. And I was telling Mike I got a podcast agent that goes out and like basically positions me for these shows, right? And then whatever. And we were just talking about how that's obviously an investment, right?
Yep.
And something that for me, the thing that's moved the needle most in my business career and personal life, right? Because I just also started to adopt this in my personal life, is investing in myself. And last year I spent over 6 figures. This year I'm on pace to probably do the same. And it's not about the number necessarily, but I will say what I found is that you get what you pay for. And so it's a lot of people that invest in themselves at a small level, and they typically, have marginal success or a bad taste in their mouth, right? But if you spend $997 on something, what made you think you were going to make $1 million? It's not the lottery, right? And the odds of winning that. And so for me, while I became very habitual since like 2016 and making, I'm talking about tens of thousands of dollars at a time type of investments in myself, there's nothing that has moved the needle most for me and accelerated my growth. And then I had to take a self-reflection moment of saying, well, I'm willing to do that for my business, but how much better could my marriage be if we had a marriage coach? How much better could my relationship with my daughter be if I invested in a family therapist? How much better could I be if I had a personal therapist or coach myself, right, outside of business? And so I just started to do that habitually in all aspects of my life, and I could certainly see the fruit from doing so, Mike.
Well, let's just be very open and honest, and this is how the conversation and I went. You and I were rapping about, hey, how was your trip in Europe? We were rapping about your trip to Vegas. I'm like, wow, you're in Vegas. Obviously, it means something to me because I have a home there now. Yeah, you're like, hey, I did the podcast circuit. You had 4 podcasts recorded in a couple of days. I'm like, hey, how'd you do that? You're like, hey, dude, I pay somebody thousands of dollars to book them. Then what I said basically was, great. Who was the biggest one? Can you, Brian Adamson, make a personal introduction? And you are, of course, the great guy that you are, and said, of course I would. And then I said something like, damn, I'm cheap. And you're, because again, I have not paid, I don't have a podcast host. I haven't paid anybody to do anything for me. I've done very micro investments around unique topics. Like I did a syndication event last year because I wasn't sure if I wanted to be in or out. So it was, I don't know, it was $1,000 weekend or something. I did that. I'm doing a Sean Connell event here coming up because I want to be better at my craft. But I don't invest in myself. And once I said, damn, I'm cheap, you're like, dude, we got to talk about this. Yeah. And, because I think one of the things that I do poorly is I'm not on more platforms. And maybe I'm just a cheap son of a bitch that should spend 20 grand and get on 50 different podcasts. Because I think the one rental at a time message is valuable. I think it works. And I think more people need to hear it. And maybe I'm just cheap. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good possibility.
Yeah, you are. Okay, cool.
I would venture to say yes. I mean, I want to disagree with you, but it's one of those things where life is about leverage.
That's funny,
right? And while you put an insurmountable amount of time into building up one rental at a time, what you've done is remarkable. but how many can really get to where you're at by doing it the way you did it? Thousands and thousands of videos, right? I think one of the best things that you did for your channel is what you're doing right now. You're leveraging other people. So
no doubt.
That's a clear indicator of what moves the needle most. It's just about the type of leverage that we use. And so I think about this $55,000 mastermind that I joined last year, which, by the way, I mean, I made that money back in 60 days of the stuff that I learned from being in that room. And went on to more than 10x that investment this year, right? But I think about the connections that I made, because when you start getting in environments where other people who are also willing to spend 55,000 on themselves, you're dealing with a different avatar. It's a different mindset. It's a different skill set, and it's a different tool set. So when you're in those rooms, now you become peers, and these are people you wouldn't have otherwise been in contact with just by having a channel, for instance, right? And so I've been able to leverage those people as well as them leverage me, and we can accelerate our growth together. But it takes for making the right investment to get in the right room. And I'm gonna tell you, like, I don't offer cheap mentorship. The reason why that's such a gift is because that's the cheapest thing that we offer. Like, my mentorship programs are tens of thousands of dollars, particularly one, because I get people the payoff, right, that supports that. But more importantly, I'm repelling the people that I don't want and attracting the ones that I do. I don't want the cheaper, freeple people, right? I don't want them around me because they have a different mentality. They want everything for nothing. I want people that are willing to bet on themselves enough to invest in themselves at a high level, not just for the sake of stroking a check, but because they truly want a big payoff in life as well. This is how I'm able to show people how to build a 6 and 7 figure business in 12 months, because the investment that they make in themselves gives me it affords them the ability and gives me the ability to show them how to do that over a 12-month period, right? And we're spending every week together and all the rest of it. So it's, for me, I almost cringe when things are too cheap. I ask the question of what's wrong with it, personally, because if you're the best, you're not the cheapest. And if you're the cheapest, you're not the best. So for me, like, I want nothing to do with anything cheap. I don't like, I'm allergic to it. You know what I mean? And I've noticed inside of our mentorship programs, because it's been that way for 6 years now, the quality and caliber of people that we have inside of our network, it is unbelievable. It's because people that invest in themselves at that level, they understand life and business at a different level. And so when they come together, they start partnering and leveraging each other on deals. It's just a much better ecosystem than having somebody with a scarcity mindset that thought because they spent their last $297 that they're supposed to be promised the world. It becomes a cancer.
Yeah. There's so much in this. And again, that very quick 3-4 minute call that we've now brought to everyone, there's so much in that I is really a weakness. It's I can't call it anything else. It's a weakness of mine. I am comfortable, as I say, doing the work. I am not comfortable reaching out to others to get that leverage for whatever reason. And I need to get over that. I mean, I can only imagine, like, I'm just going to make up numbers. $20,000, 50 of the top 300 podcasts in the world in the business and finance area would probably move the needle significantly in the one rental at a time world.
Your channel would at least double in 12 months.
Yeah. I'm broken. Yeah.
It's just that, because this is the beautiful part about when you make yourself more findable, right? And that's all that it is, getting in front of other people's audiences, leveraging their audiences to make yourself more findable. When that happens, the good news for guys like you and I is that we actually got something good to tell people when they get.
We got receipts, man.
Right.
As Alex Hormozi.
So now they come to your channel. You got thousands of videos. So I'll give you an example. So in the mastermind I'm in, the $55,000 one, right? I was on a coaching call this morning, and my mentor, who's now at 500,000 subs, right, in 18, 24 months, by the way, on his YouTube channel, he he talked about how in the month of November alone, the watch hours are equivalent to 55 years that people spent watching his content. The whole year of 2023 to date is the equivalent of 560 years worth of hours that people have consumed his content. And it's because it's phenomenal content. He's consistent when he puts it out. He's even, you know, spent $150,000 at his office to really just like redo the entire office to make it specific for him to shoot content in. He's got probably 100 chairs out there now because he likes to speak in front of a live audience. So he records his YouTube videos while speaking to a live audience because it even comes off even better, right? So he put on a new roof that's soundproof so that when it rains in Tampa, you don't hear. So he's made a $250,000 investment into making his YouTube videos better because he understands the 3,600 leads that he got in the month of November alone from his YouTube channel are conceivably going to turn into 1.5 to 2 million bucks for him. And he does it every month consistently. And he's doing it with spending no ad spend. What he's doing is making himself more findable. He's on podcasts. He's doing affiliates. He's doing all of those things. And everything you've done so far, Mike, you'd be doing yourself a disservice not to go out here and get some leverage, bro. Like your channel would blow up beyond your imagination just from you getting in front of other audiences that you just couldn't otherwise do unless you had the connections.
I agree. I don't know what else to tell you. Eye-opening conversation, coaching, advice, friendship. We got to roll. We both got a 10 o'clock. So Brian, how can people find you? And we'll continue this, bro.
Yes, sir. Brian Adamson Official on YouTube, Instagram. Those are the two main ones. But I think if you put that in, I'm everywhere. Brian Adamson Official.
And folks, he is amazing. Don't forget, he will be in Vegas for that sold out event.
Yes, sir. I will be back in Vegas in February. And listen, just as much as this conversation, which I appreciate you being candid and transparent about, Mike, I'm glad that we had it because there's other people out there this thing will move the needle most for you if you get out of your own way. I promise you that. But as long as you have a scarcity mentality about investing in yourself, you're never going to attract the real success that you truly want.
Yes, I agree.